In this podcast, we're going to be looking at equations that are in slope-intercept form or close to slope-intercept form, and just identifying M and B. M and B turn out to be very, very valuable in the rest of our graphing techniques, so we want to make sure that we can identify M and B very easily. So if we start off, we take a look at what we're given up here, and we're going to identify M and B in slope-intercept form. Here is slope-intercept form, and M is always attached to the X variable, and B is always the standalone or the constant that's in the equation. So in looking at A, we have y equals 3x minus 7. Well, the first thing I notice about this is it's not exactly in slope-intercept form. Well, we both have a y equals, but there's a minus sign here instead of a plus sign. So if we were to fix this by adding the opposite, now we can see we're in exactly the right form. M is going to be the number that's attached to x. In example A here, the number that's attached to the x is a 3. And B is the constant or the standalone number, and in this case, turns out that it's negative 7. And we have to be very careful here that we realize that we have to change that minus sign to a plus to make sure we have the form exact. So in this example A, our slope is 3 and our y-intercept is negative 7. Looking over at equation B here, we can see that we're close to slope-intercept form, but I've got a problem because there's a 2y in front. I have 2y here, not a plain old y like we need up here. So using the rules of algebra, I can divide this side by 2. That would cancel those out, giving me just a plain y. But if I divide the left side by 2, then I have to do it to the right side as well. And since there are 2 terms over there, I'm going to do it twice, once to each term. These 2's will cancel out, leaving a y equals 4 divided by 2 is 2x, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now that is in a form that's exactly similar to slope-intercept form, and so we can come off and identify our m's and b's. Please remember m's attached to the x, so m is the number in front of the x, or the 2, and b is the standalone or the constant, which would be 4, and we have a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of 4. Looking over at equation C, we can see we're all messed up now. We've got a negative 3 in front, the x's are in the wrong position, the b is it's all messed up. So the first thing that I would like to do is to rewrite it that's very close. So I'm going to keep the y's just like this, but now I want my mx terms to be next. So I'm going to change this over here and add the opposite. And then once you're adding, you can switch order on these things. So I'm going to write the x's next, and then that's going to leave a positive 9 at the end. And again, I'm just setting myself up to be in the same form for later. We can see that we fixed that problem. I'm looking at an mx plus b type form over here, but I've got a problem in that I've got to divide by negative 3 on this side as well as the right side. Now these negative 3's go away. I am left with a y. Some people might look at this as a problem and say, Mr. Hush, a 4 doesn't go, 3 doesn't go into 4. And I said, well, it's not a problem at all. We just leave it. And please remember that a negative divided by negative is a positive, and just because we have a fractional answer doesn't mean it's not an answer. And then plus 9 divided by negative 3. We are lucky here, and then it goes in there evenly and get negative 3. So after doing our algebra, we can see a form that is very, very, very similar now to y equals mx plus b. And I can identify m as the number that's in front of the x, 4/3, and b as the standalone number or the constant, which is negative 3. And that'll be useful in our graphing in the next future lessons.